For listeners who want to get a toehold into cybersecurity more generally, what are some things in your mind that you would want to see in someone's background, especially if they're just learning and haven't maybe gotten their first job yet? But like, what are some experiences or certs or things that would indicate that they're putting in the effort at least and ready to do the work to you?
Sure. So I've done entry-level hiring, and then I'm also, as I mentioned earlier, key to bringing people mid-career.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so. Let's start with the mid-career.
Mm-hmm.
I've got someone who's done IT processes and some business processes, and they are poised to fit in specific roles in the cybersecurity, if you want to call it the CISO mind map activities.
Okay.
So, for example, if you spent some time in audit, or you spent some time in analytics, you are very likely to be able to flourish well in the government's risk and compliance activity space. That's looking for risk, performing assessments, and then using standards, but you still need to be able to discern what's going on between the lines. If you're just going to say this control is here or not, you're not helping there. But the idea is to help find out which risks are more pertinent and thinking about the time base of when it's going to occur. That's where I found personally the best place to learn. If you bring someone with an abstract thinking capability, that's the place to go. Sometimes we would hire people from the help desk because then they learn the business. Mm-hmm. Actually, this took place at the insurance company. We hired people from the call centers who were answering calls and filling out those questionnaires. They understood what was happening to sell the insurance policies and the claims side, and they were much better to look. We taught them how to program that. So similarly, if you worked the help desk and you knew the business problems, you could actually flow into some training for instant response, where you would do forensics, e-discovery. You may looking at longer term trends and how to use the specific tools to whether the controls are working, and sometimes vulnerability management. I've seen many people flourish by starting in vulnerability management because they'd worked in the help desk. So they understood the technology stack a little bit. Similarly, if there's one place where someone's almost say they've been in the career 10 years, and the place to start them is if they understand business process is the resilience. That's the DR, business continuity side.
Yeah.
And I always encourage people to see this as if you look at a security incident, it starts out as an event. Make sure I'm doing it the right way. Starts out an event, gets more serious, becomes an incident. A series of incidents become a disaster, and it requires different levels of response once you escalate. And then the business continuity, which could include like a flood, a fire alarm went off in the flood building, and now all the servers are off. You have to, how are we going to move them, put them in different places? So that continuum between event, incident, disaster, business continuity, and maybe emergency operations, someone who understands that big picture can go right into the resilience section and see the end product of a cyber incident response, and then learn their way back forth, towards the front.
Yeah.
So and it's almost like you get a math book, you went to the answers in the back, and then you've learned how to solve the problems, and you're like, oh, I can understand it.
That makes sense.
That's one way. But so those are some examples of how entry level and more senior level people can get into the field. And then I think even sense of management is a whole nother capability there. Just because you're the manager shouldn't mean you're the most technically astute person. It means you're the best at organizing the troops.
Yeah, you're managing. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and sometimes we promote people to the manager and they're actually not developed the people skills yet. Yeah,
right.
And I think that's where where the CISO has been and should be. But sometimes people hire CISOs for their technical skills, and early on I was expected to know all of them, and that was good. But on the other side, I think as we fill out the sort of the skills matrix overall, there's going to be only a couple of unicorns that can do all those things. And so sometimes you need a team that carries different parts of those things, much like, basketball teams got the center, got the shooters, they got LeBron James, and they don't need anybody else right now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, no. And also I think that not every company has the wherewithal to hire multiples, but I think that's, we're seeing that division between the CISO and like an advanced security practitioner, someone who is not going to want to go into the management side. Maybe they're never going to develop the management side, but still want to be doing like the actual implementation. If you have, get you a company that can do both, kind of thing. So.
Well, IBM had that. They had the expertise the experts, engineers, who didn't necessarily have to have a team of reporting to them, and they had these sort of parallel careers. You could jump back and forth between them. It just depends on where your best benefit for the company was. And I think that's possibly happening. Microsoft hired 3 or 4 different deputy CISOs to handle different pieces of it because they realized it's not one thing their CISO could do.
Want more career advice? Well, click here to check out my full conversations on the Cyberwork podcast. Every week, I sit down with a cybersecurity practitioner to discuss how you can break into and move up the ladder in the cybersecurity industry. See you there.